you. What is the basic principle underlying Master Dharmakirti's arguments in favor of past and future lives? Master Dharmakirti's basic principle is that all caused things come from something which is of a similar type and came before it, right? Something of a similar type which came before it, all right? So, we're talking about future lives, and the question might arise, why do some minds take rebirth and why do other minds not take rebirth, right? If we have infinite existence, what causes us to take rebirth in a suffering realm, right? If the mind is evolving over the course of millions of years or billions of years, at what point does the mind no longer have to take rebirth in a suffering realm, right? In an afflicted realm. So, what is it that's causing the mind to come back and take rebirth at the moment of death in the suffering realm? So, and it basically relates to the perception we're having at the moment of death. What are the perceptions in the mind at the moment of death? And I think the short answer is if one is perceiving things as self-existent at the moment of death, that triggers rebirth in samsaric existence in a suffering realm. So we don't have much time, so I'm going to just cut to it. So a normal person has emotions of desire in their mind as they die. Desire based upon ignorance, right? Ignorance meaning you see things as self-existent. Okay? So typically at the time of death, a normal person has ignorance in their mind and desire. Desire for what? Desire to escape pain, desire to have pleasure, one or the other, right? Or both. So as the person dies, that emotion causes them to cross over into a suffering rebirth, and to have a continuation of a similar type of mind. So let's say at the time of death, one is having a lot of fear and trying to, and that state of mind will carry over to their next rebirth typically. So Master Dharmakirti does a proof of future lives, and we don't have time to go into it, but standard logical format of a proof, you start with consider your subject. So consider the mind of a normal person at the moment of death. The assertion is that mind will cross to a future mind, and the reason, the third part, is because that mind possesses desire. Okay, so that's his basic statement of his logical argument. So, and this relates to the 8th link in the chain of the 12 links of dependent origination in the Wheel of Life. So, we have ignorance, and based upon ignorance, we have craving desire, which is seeing things as self-existent and wanting to get them, right? Or we have craving fear, which is out of ignorance, craving to avoid an unpleasant object, right? Even if it hurts other people. So, and then ignorance itself, which is craving to existence. And this one is quite strong at the time of death, right? The idea of me, right? If you ever had the experience of feeling like you might be dying, there's a sense of like, I'm disappearing, what's going to happen to me? There might not be a me anymore, and there's this tremendous grasping and clinging to existence, to my existence, the existence of my ego, to the existence of my identity, to the existence of me, right? And so it's just this deep, I don't know what you would say, seeds, impulses to exist as me, right? So that in and of itself triggers rebirth, right? That ignorant grasping to a self-existent me triggers rebirth, right? And we're gripped by the fear that we're ending, right? That I am ending. That the thing I define as me is ending, right? And so that's a big part of Buddhist practice, especially the higher Buddhist practices, is loosening that self-identification of me and what I am and who I am, right? To not grasp to it at the time of death. So, and there are 4 levels of focusing on the self, and at the time of death, and it's the key to why this craving triggers the karma to be reborn. Excuse me. So one way that we think about ourselves at the time of death is focusing upon myself in an ordinary way. And it's just, I'm John, this is me. And interestingly, that does not trigger rebirth. It's not ignorant view, it's just ordinary unexamined view. It's just simple unexamined view. Yeah, I'm John, no problem. There's no craving for self-existent John. Right? It's a simple conceptual identification. So then, seeing yourself in an ignorant way and believing that I exist from my own side triggers karma and rebirth. So if I'm at the time of death and I think, yeah, I'm John, I'm here, I exist, and I want to keep existing, that triggers rebirth. Even if one has seen emptiness directly, at the time of death, one's not, at the time of an ordinary death, one is not in the direct perception of emptiness, and so one is seeing things as self-existent. So seeing things as self-existent and believing that things are self-existent at the time of death, even if you've already seen emptiness directly, still triggers rebirth, right? That's why seeing emptiness does not automatically mean that you attain nirvana, right? You don't.
I thought after 7 lifetimes you get enlightened after seeing emptiness.
As an example, it could be 7 lifetimes. It could be shorter or longer. So that's Geshe Michael's example, because apparently that's what he saw for himself. So one has to clean the remainder of the negative karma over however many lifetimes that takes. But until one has permanently put an end to those negative karmic seeds, one continues to take rebirth. And it's not until one attains nirvana that one stops taking rebirth, right? So once one attains nirvana as a result of the direct perception of emptiness, some lifetimes later, right? Then you're done with rebirth. But until then, even if you see an emptiness, at the time of death you have this self-existent view and it triggers rebirth, okay? So not seeing yourself as self-existent and not believing that you're self-existent no longer triggers rebirth, which is the state of a Buddha. A Buddha doesn't see themselves as self-existent or believe that they're self-existent, right? So that. Okay, what else do we have to cover?
I think that was only 3, John. Is there 2 of the self-existent perceptions?
4 levels of focusing on the self?
Yeah, there's ordinary, self-existent, and not seeing as self-existent.
So there's ordinary.
Yeah.
Seeing yourself self-existently.
Yeah.
Then seeing yourself as self-existent but not believing you're self-existent, which is an Arya, right? Someone who's seen emptiness. That still triggers rebirth. And then not seeing yourself as self-existent and not believing you're self-existent, which is a fully enlightened being, someone who's attained nirvana.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And that covers it with 4 minutes to spare. Yay. Any further questions or debate? You have 4 minutes. However long you'd like to take. No? Okay. There's a question of, is there class next week? Because it's a couple of days before Thanksgiving. I will be here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sashi Pugi Jushin Metal Tram Rira Lingshin Yindegam Padi Sangha Shindu Mite Vivargi Drobun Nanda Shinaju Parsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayani Gawadi Dokun Sunam Yeshe Soksoshin Sunam Yeshe Legend Way Idamra Guni Parsho.
See the holy beings that you invited melting into your heart in the form of light rays. And by the power of this blessing, by the power of our debate and discussion this evening, may we quickly come to realize ultimate reality and end all suffering everywhere very quickly in this very life. Thank you.